and will be used against you. It's my understanding, Ms. Sanchez, that you have multiple matters. I think this one and 13 other cases at Tucson City Court. You're being held on a $500 bond on all of those other cases, and you already have Janet Altschuler appointed to represent you. You are going to be seen tomorrow for a video review hearing. That's September 20th at 1:45 in the afternoon in front of Judge Mayhew. So we're going to consolidate this new case with all of those. I am going to release you on your promise to appear on this case. Again, you're going to be seen tomorrow morning and you're being held on that bond. If you do get released on this case, don't have any contact with the victim and don't return to the incident location. So where the criminal trespass occurred on North Los Altos, don't go back there.
Okay.
Okay? Do you understand your conditions of release, ma'am?
Yes.
All right, that's all for tonight. Make sure that you show up at your court date. I know you'll probably still be in custody, but make sure you show up for future court dates, because if you don't, they'll issue another warrant for your arrest, okay?
I'm going to be in downtown.
You are going to probably still be in custody for your hearing tomorrow, but yeah, if you end up going for future court dates, Tucson City Court is downtown.
Okay, thank you.
Right. That's all, ma'am. You're excused.
I don't think he's here. Or she. Dashboard or yeah. It's probably released one.
Zajic Michelle, Your Honor, is still not down, so this is Banks.
All right. And who do we have from the public defender's office?
It's me, Judge.
Sorry, Ms. Baumgartner.
Audrey.
Sorry, I
Hi,
can only
Judge.
see the half of you that was not your head. Good evening.
That's fine. Good evening.
All right, tell me your full name, sir.
Alexander James Banks.
Mr. Banks, you are here today on felony charges involving tampering with a witness. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I am going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of this hearing. I've had an opportunity to review information from pretrial services. It does look like, sir, you are on release in a superior court case. You also have a probation violation, and probation has a hold. So regardless of what I do on this case, there is going to be a hold because of your probation matter. I've also had the opportunity to review the state's attorney's recommendation with respect to your conditions of release. They are asking for a $25,000 bond. Mr. Terrace, did you want to be heard?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Baumgartner?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd be asking for a lower bond amount. It looks like $20,000 was already imposed on his new pending case, and that was posed back on September 4th. He still hasn't been able to post that, so adding an additional $25,000 just seems unnecessary, given his financial situation. So we'd be asking for a $10,000 bond, Your Honor.
I am going to impose an additional $10,000 bond, so that's going to be consecutive to the $20,000 bond that's already in place on the other cases. It is going to be cash or secured. If you do post that bond, sir, after you get your probation matters resolved, you will be released to pretrial services. You're to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. Do not commit any acts of domestic violence. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you can't have any firearms. You are not to have any contact with the victim in this case. Do not go to where she lives. Do not go to where she works. You are in custody, sir, and that order applies to you as long as you're in the Pima County Jail. You may have access to telephones, tablets, and other correspondence. You are not to have any contact with her at all. Do you understand those conditions of release, Mr. Banks?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your next hearing in this matter is going to be a preliminary hearing. That is September 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That hearing may or may not occur, but you will be responsible for attending all future court dates. If you're in custody, you will be transported to those hearings. However, if you postpone, it is your responsibility to appear. And if you fail to appear, a warrant could be issued for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences for failing to appear, Mr. Banks?
Yes.
All right, that's all for tonight. Hello. Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
My name is Castro Perez Brandon, or Brandon Castro Perez.
So you are here today, sir, on charges involving prohibited possessor and theft of a firearm. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have a right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of this hearing tonight. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. What they've told me, sir, is that you do have a hold from the adult probation department. So regardless of what we do tonight on this case and these charges, you're going to be held until you can be seen on your probation matter. I've had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. They are asking for a $10,000 bond. Mr. Terrace, did you want to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Baumgartner?
Just a moment, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. As you noted, he has a probation hold, so he wouldn't be able to postpone anyways. He's only 25 years old. He does have priors, but none of them are violent. This is actually considered a non-violent offense. He's only a 3 on both the scales, and he does not have an active NVCA flag. So given those factors, we'd be asking for a $5,000 bond.
I am going to impose a bond in the amount of $7,500. That is going to be cash or secured. If you do post that bond, Mr. Castro Perez, after you deal with your probation matters, then you'd be released to pretrial services. You're ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment that they direct. You can't possess or consume any alcohol or drugs. You are not allowed to have any firearms. Do not have any contact with the victims in this case, and do not return to the incident location. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a question.
You should ask
So,
your attorney about any questions before you start talking.
Okay.
So let me give you your next court date, and then you can talk with Ms. Baumgartner. Your next court date is going to be September 30th at 1:30. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you will be responsible for all future court dates. It's important that you stay in contact with your attorney. If court dates change, they will know that. also through pretrial services if you are to be released in the future. If you do remain in custody, the jail will make sure you get transported to your future court dates. Do you understand that if you fail to appear, a warrant could be issued for your arrest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Baumgartner, did you want to check to see if there's something else we need to address?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge, just really quick, Zajic Michelle refused. On so many. Oh, wait, sorry. Am I just? Oh, no. Judge,
Yes.
just a heads up, Zajic Michelle refused.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Um.
Oh, make sure I sign them all. The word you will refuse.
It's
No, thank you. Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
Eric Anton.
Mr. Antone, you have several matters that we're going to be talking about this evening. There is one out of South Tucson Municipal Court. You have 4 matters out of Pima County Justice Court, and you also have a Tucson City Court warrant. You do have the right to remain silent on all of these cases.
All right.
Anything you say can and will be used against you. So we're going to start with the Justice Court cases, sir. One of them is a theft warrant.
All right.
On that matter, I am going to impose a bond of $250. That is going to be cash bond.
All right.
I am going to appoint Carlos Betancourt to represent you on this case and all the others in Justice Court that we're going to talk about today. If you do post that $250 cash bond, then you are not to return to the incident location. That's where the victims are, and you're not to have any contact with them of where the theft is. Your next court date is going to be September 20th at 1 o'clock. That's going to be tomorrow. If you remain in custody, that will be a video hearing, much like you're doing today. Do you understand the conditions in that case, sir, and also your next court date?
Yes.
So that's the first Justice Court matter. Let's talk about the second Justice Court matter. Same bond, sir. It is a $250 bond. I will run this concurrent with your last case. Because you're in custody, Carlos Betancourt will represent you on this matter as well. This is a warrant on a criminal trespass case. Do not return to the incident location or have any contact with the victims there if you do get released. And again, your hearing will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And it will be a video hearing, much like you're doing today. And
All right.
let's move to the third Justice Court matter. That one is a shoplifting case. Again, it's a $250 cash bond concurrent with your other two matters. If you do post that bond, you're not to have any contact with the victims or return to the incident location for that shoplifting. Again, Mr. Carlos Betancourt will be appointed to represent you, and your hearing on this matter is also tomorrow at 1 p.m. That will be the review hearing. And then your last matter in Justice Court, same thing, $250 cash bond concurrent with all other matters we've talked about here today. Mr. Betancourt will represent you on this case as well. It is a shoplifting case. You are not to have any contact with the victims or return to the incident location. And again, you will be seen on this matter tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Do you understand all of those conditions of release on these Justice Court cases, sir?
Yes.
And let's talk about your South Tucson case. I am going to impose a bond in that case as well. That is going to be a cash or secured bond in the amount of $250. I'm going to appoint Michael Vaughn to represent you for the South Tucson case. You have warrants, 3 different theft charges that you have warrants on out of South Tucson City Court. If you do post the $250 cash receipt to return to the incident location or have any contact with the victims there. Your next hearing will be tomorrow, September 20th at 10 a.m. That should also be a video review hearing because you will remain in custody. Do you understand your conditions on that case, sir?
Yes.
And then finally, we have a Tucson City Court case that we need to talk about. Charges involve criminal damage and disorderly conduct. It looks like there is a warrant out for your arrest in that case. I am going to release you on your promise to appear in that case.
All right.
Hopefully you will get all of these other matters resolved. It does appear to be your sole case in Tucson City Court. Do not have any contact with the victims of that disorderly conduct. Do not return to the incident location wherever the criminal damage and defacing occurred. Your next court date in Tucson City Court will be October 21st at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that will be in front of Judge Morana. If you fail to appear for the court date that I just gave you in City Court or any of the court dates that I gave you today, they will issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes.
When you do get released from the jail, sir, they should give you copies of your conditions of release. And that will have Tucson City Court's date when you're scheduled to appear, as well as the location of that courthouse. All right, that's all for tonight.
All right.
No, take arms after Sherman. Lavina? Up the door, down the steps.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Pedro Alonso Avina.
Mr. Avina, you are on charges this evening for domestic violence, disorderly conduct, and also a count of possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I have an address for you, sir, on South Avenida, Don Ontoro. Is that a good address for you? All right. If I release you on these charges tonight, are you going to appear at a court date that I give you at Justice Court in the future? All right. I am going to release you tonight, sir. You do have some additional conditions of release. I've had the opportunity to review some information by pretrial services. The victims in this case are your mom and your aunt. You are not to have any contact with them while this case is going on. Do not go to the incident location. Don't go to their house. Do you understand? And you're residing somewhere else, not with them, right? So the victims that I have listed in this case are your mom, Miss Mendez, and also an aunt by the name of Maria Avina. Okay, all right. It looks like you were also on release on a Pima County Superior Court case. You need to contact, you're on release to pretrial, contact pretrial services on the first working day following your release. You're gonna get released tonight, so you need to contact pretrial services tomorrow and let them know about your contact with law enforcement. Do you understand all of those conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, your next court date is October 21st at 10:30 in the afternoon at Pima County Justice Court. That will be in front of Judge Ball. You do need to appear at that day and time. If you do not appear, a warrant can be issued for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences for failing to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all for tonight.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Really moving.
All right.
Defendants.
Ms. Holden, you are here on a few different matters this evening. Jail, do you have her being held on her Superior Court warrant? So, ma'am, you are here on charges of drug paraphernalia out of Morana. You also have some matters out of city court we're going to talk about in a minute. Regardless of what I do on this case, you do have a Superior Court warrant that's likely going to keep you in jail, okay?
Mhm.
As to the Morana case, it is, as I mentioned, a drug paraphernalia case. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. There was a warrant issued when you failed to appear, and the bond in that case was a $350 cash bond. I am going to impose that. Let me ask you this. If you get your felony case resolved, this Morana case is not going to go away, Miss Holden. If I release you on this case and give you a court date in Morana, are you going to show up and get this taken care of?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I will give you a chance. We're going to release you on the Morana case. Again, you're probably still going to be held on your Superior Court case, but I will release you on this matter. You're not to have any alcohol or illegal drugs. Your next court date is going to be October 16th at 10 o'clock in the morning at Morana City Court. When you do get released, you'll get an opportunity to get paperwork from the jail that will have the date and time for your hearing, as well as the location for Morana City Court. You do need to appear or they will issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, now we need to talk about your city court cases as well. It looks like you have a couple of those. Same thing, drug paraphernalia charges. I am going to release you on your promise to appear on those two matters as well. Your next court date in Tucson City Court is going to be October 21st at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be in front of Judge Maldonado. Don't possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. Do you understand your conditions of release and the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure you show up for your court dates, Ms. Holden.
Mhm.
That's all for
Thank
tonight.
you.
Holloway.
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your full name.
Simon Holloway.
Ms. Holloway, you are here on a few different matters this evening. The first is a warrant out of Pima County Justice Court for disorderly conduct disturbing the peace. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Looks like the bond amount on that warrant was $100. We also have some city court matters we're going to need to talk about as well. Failing to comply with court orders. If I release you tonight, Ms. Holloway, I will order that you not have any contact with the victim in this case, a former boyfriend, Michael. You're not going to be allowed to go to where he's working or living. There is a Tucson City Court case in addition to this one, where you're not supposed to be having contact with him, and there is an active order of protection. If I release you, you have to stay away from him. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I release you and give you a court date in justice court and a separate date in city court, do you promise to show up and get these matters taken care of?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I will release you on your promise to appear. Your court date for Pima County Justice Court is going to be October 21st at 8:30 in the morning. That's going to be in front of Judge Ball in Pima County Justice Court. Your additional conditions of release, as I've indicated, do not commit any acts of domestic violence and do not have any contact with the victim. Don't go to his residence or his workplace. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you fail to appear for your court date, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now let's talk about your city court cases. I am going to release you on your promise to appear on all of those matters as well. Do not commit any acts of domestic violence. Do not have any contact with the victim or go anywhere near him. All of your Tucson City Court cases are going to be consolidated, and your next court date is October 15th at 1:30 in the afternoon. And that's going to be in front of Judge Million at Tucson City Court. Do you understand your conditions in that case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And again, if you fail to appear on October 15th at 1:30, they'll issue warrants for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, that's all for tonight.
Thank you. Just down there.
Joseph.
Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
Joseph.
Middle name Daniel.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You are here tonight on charges involving disorderly conduct, 2 counts out of Morana. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say kind of will be used against you. I have an address for you on Tortolita Street in Morana. Is that still a good address for you, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. If I promise to, or if you promise to appear when I give you a court date, I can release you tonight on these charges with some additional conditions. Will you promise to show up at court?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I am going to release you on that promise to appear on these charges. You are not allowed to have any contact with your spouse or your minor children as a result of these charges. You can't have any contact with them or return to the incident location. It's my understanding that you are able to establish a residence away from them. Are you going to be able to do that?
She moved out. She moved out on Sunday. I'm the one that resides there.
Okay, so I will take out, don't go
Yes.
back. Okay, so you just are not allowed to have any contact with her. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. It does look like you have a probation matter out of Pima County Superior Court. It doesn't appear that there are any holds at this time, but you need to contact your probation officer tomorrow. You're going to get released on these cases tonight, and you need to contact them tomorrow to report the law enforcement contact. That will be an additional order. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. She already knows. I called her when the police was at my house.
Okay. Don't,
I take care, but I will contact her again.
okay. As long as you need to report that contact. So once you're out, I would call her tomorrow and let her know that you're out. Do not commit any further acts of domestic violence. Your next court date is going to be October 16th at 10 o'clock in the morning at Morana City Court. When you get released, these conditions and that court date and the address for Morana City Court will be on the paperwork that the jail should provide you. You do need to appear on the 16th, and if you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, that's all for tonight.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Joshua Adam Orozco.
Mr. Orozco, you are here this evening on charges of domestic violence assault and multiple counts involving domestic violence disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. If I release you tonight and impose some additional conditions, will you promise to show up at your future court date that I give you?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will release you on your promise to appear. Additional conditions of release will require you to not have any contact with the victim in this case. Your girlfriend, Miss Corral, and her 3 minor children. You are not allowed to have contact with them. Do you have the ability to, and I think I read with pretrial services, you do have the ability to establish an alternate address. Is that right?
Yeah, so since that's my property, my house where I live, I will stay at my mom's. So I'd have to change my address. So if I get mail, because obviously I can't be at my house right now.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to ask you, I need my work tools and my work truck's under my mom's name and I have my other keys to the cars. Is she able to go pick up that work truck in the trailer and bring it to me, like without me going at all?
So as long as you do not have any contact with her, that's the issue. So you're not allowed to have any contact with her. Let me,
Yeah, it's my sister. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sorry.
that's okay. The other option, and I will check this on your conditions of release, you can return if you want to contact law enforcement and they will go with you to pick up your belongings. So I'm going to check a box on the form that will allow you to return to the incident location one time to collect whatever you, whether or not you want to do that, but you have to take law enforcement with you.
Yes, I will do that. It's just I got quite a bit of tools, so if I was able to send my sister or brother, if I need stuff, that would be okay with you? As long as I don't have contact, right?
Right, you cannot have contact. So
Okay.
that's going to be
good.
the big
Yeah,
issue.
and I get one time myself to go with law enforcement.
Yeah. And
Okay,
don't have your family communicate anything to her about this case. I understand if you need work tools and things like that, but don't have your family try to go over there and say things like, hey, anything at all. They should not be talking about this case. They can go and collect whatever it is that you need, and that should be all the contact.
with keys, right, to my gate, to my tool room, to my house, they can just go, just no contact with her about me, correct?
Right, yeah, I just don't want you to be a conduit for any information going to her. Again, I understand you need these things so that you can
Okay.
work. I just do not want family members trying to talk with her or influence her in any way on this case on your behalf. That's the concern, okay?
Perfect. Thank
All
you.
right, yep. So no contact, don't go back there. I will check the box that allows you to return in case there's an issue with law enforcement. Don't commit any further acts of domestic violence and you have another place to stay. Your next court date is going to be October 21st at 10:30. That will be Pima County Justice Court in front of Judge Ball. You do need to appear at that date and time. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences for failing to appear?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
When you get released later tonight, the jail should give you a copy of your paperwork and it will have the date and time for your next court appearance along with the address and all the conditions you and I discussed tonight. All right?
Okay, do I update my address with them? Or
I
my
would-
Address?
I would make sure that Justice Court does have that information. Yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. That's all for tonight.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Please. Donati?
Tell me your full name.
Nicole Marie Fonzie.
Hmm. That's why. I need to get your file. Hang on. All right. Ma'am, you are here tonight on charges involving criminal damage. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. It does look like this is a domestic violence related offense. I have had the opportunity to review information that pretrial services has provided me on this case. If I release you on this matter, ma'am, do you promise to show up at a court date that I give you in the future?
Yes, I do, yeah.
All right, I will release you on your promise to appear. You'll be released later today. You are to commit no further acts of domestic violence. Pretrial services did have contact with Mr. Fontes, who is the victim in this case, and he does welcome future contact with you. So I'm not going to limit any contact between the two of you, but you are not to commit any further acts of domestic violence. Your next court date's going to be October 22nd at 1:30 in the afternoon. That'll be in front of Judge Millian at Tucson City Court. When you get released later tonight, you should have paperwork and that'll have that date and time for your next hearing. If you fail to appear for that hearing, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand your conditions of release, ma'am?
I do.
And do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear?
Yes, I do.
Right, that's all for tonight.
Yes, far.
No. Jail, do we have Mr. Reese?
He's on his way down, Your Honor.
Okay, I knew we were missing someone. Hi, sir, tell me your full name.
Yes, sir, Edward Gaspard II.
You are here tonight, sir, on multiple charges out of Tucson City Court. It looks like warrants that were issued for your arrest for drug paraphernalia and failure to appear. These incidents stem back to 2022. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you. Looks like I have a general delivery address for you. Are those still your circumstances, sir? Right, okay. If I release you tonight, will you go to Tucson City Court on the date that I give you in the next month so that you can get these matters taken care of?
Yes, ma'am.
I will release you, sir, on your promise to appear. You do need to go to Tucson City Court on October 21st at 2:00 in the afternoon. That'll be in front of Judge Morana. If you don't go to that court date, they are going to issue another warrant for your arrest and you're going to find yourself right back where you are tonight. These matters aren't going to go away, sir. You need to get them taken care of. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you fail to appear, they will issue warrants for your arrest. Make sure you show up, okay?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
And I know they're not open tonight, but there is a transition center, which is a trailer that's right off of the jail property. I think it's actually on the jail property. But it's near there. If you can get back to the transition center, they have a lot of resources that they might be able to make available to you. They do help with housing, substance abuse, and mental health services. So if you find yourself needing some housing, if you can get back to the transition center, they may be able to assist you. All right?
Okay, thank you.
All for tonight.
Just for the court's information, he does have an APO hold.
Mr. Gaspari, he has an APO hold?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. My conditions on this case, sir, are going to stay the same, but what the jail is telling me is that you have a probation matter that is holding you in jail. So it doesn't sound like you're going to be released tonight until that matter gets resolved. Okay?
All right.
All right. That's all for tonight. Thank you, jail.
Again.
Hi, sir. Tell me-
And Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Uh-huh. All right. Give me just a minute. I haven't touched, but do you want me to? Thank you. All right, sir, tell me your full name.
John Burke again.
Mr. McGinn, you are here tonight on charges of criminal damage and criminal trespass. Looks like these are domestic violence related offenses. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services this evening. If I release you on these two offenses, sir, will you promise to appear at Tucson City Court at a date that I give you?
Yes,
You also are not going to be allowed to reside with Miss Nelson at this time. Do you have another place you can stay or reside for the time being?
Yes.
All right. I will release you on your promise to appear. You're to commit no acts of domestic violence. At this time, you're not to have any contact with Nicole Nelson, the victim in this matter. Do not go to her residence or workplace. Absolutely no contact. Establish an alternate address that is not with her for the time being. Your next hearing is October 22nd at 1:30 in the afternoon in front of Judge Millian at Tucson City Court. When you get released later today, the jail will give you copies of your release paperwork. It will have the date and time we just talked about, as well as the city court address where you need to appear. If you fail to appear for that hearing, a warrant could issue for your arrest. First, Mr. McGinn, do you understand all of the conditions of your release?
yes,
And do you understand the consequences if you fail to appear at the hearing date?
yes.
That's all for tonight. You're excused.
Thank you.
Friends? Price. Take your arms out of your shoulder.
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your full name.
Ana Luisa Perez.
Ms. Perez, you are here tonight on, looks like 3 or 4 cases out of 4 cases out of Tucson City Court. They've issued warrants for your arrest. They involve charges of criminal trespass, drug paraphernalia, loitering, and possessing, again, paraphernalia. And you have multiple charges involving criminal trespass and loitering. You do have the right to remain silent on these charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. These matters go back to, it looks like June of this year. Ms. Perez, if I release you on these matters, will you promise to go to Tucson City Court and get them taken care of?
Yes.
I will release you on your promise to appear. You are not to have any contact with the victims. Those are the people where you were criminal, where the criminal trespassing took place and also the loitering. So don't go back to those incident locations or have contact with anyone there. Your
Okay.
next court date is going to be October 22nd at 9:30 in the morning. That will be in front of Judge Sergio at Tucson City Court. You do need to show up at that date and time. If you don't, they're going to issue another warrant for your arrest and you're going to find yourself back in custody. Do you understand that, Ms. Perez?
Yes, I understand.
All right. When you get released from the jail, they'll provide you with a copy of the paperwork that talks about your conditions of release and also has your next court date and time along with the address for city court. It's not going to go away. You got to show up and deal with this. All right.
Okay,
That's all for tonight.
I will.
You're excused. That's it for tonight.
Thank you.
Snellings.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Snellings.
Ms. Snellings, you were here on a Tucson City Court matter. It looks like a warrant was issued for you back in March of 2024 for drug paraphernalia and misdemeanor DUI. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Ms. Snellings, if I release you on this matter and give you another chance to go to Tucson City Court and show up, if I give you a court date, will you promise to appear?
I will, Your Honor, I might be in custody for a while. On my felony cases.
Okay,
So I mean, that would be my only setback for making it, but I know that they do video court and stuff as well, so.
that is all true. So I didn't have information about your other cases, but you must have an attorney on your felony cases. So what I'm gonna do on your city court case, Ms. Snellings, is release you on your promise to appear. You're not allowed to drive without a valid license and don't possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. Your next court date is gonna be October 15th at 2, and that'll be in front of Judge Surheat. Find yourself still in custody, maybe communicate with your attorney on the felony case and just let her know, hey, I've got these city court things hanging out there.
Definitely will, yeah. And I've given Kate permission to speak with Cynthia Richard, my attorney from city as well.
Okay, and if you've got an attorney at the city, I don't have that information because this is the sole case that I have to see you on this evening. So it sounds like you've got a good handle on things, but this case won't keep you in custody. So if you get your felony cases resolved, then you will be released on this one.
Thank you so much,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Make sure that you show up at court dates if you do get out so they don't issue another warrant for your arrest. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all for tonight, Ms. Snellings.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks.
Donna.
Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
Pedro Francisco Tona II.
Mr. Tona, you are here tonight on charges of aggravated assault. It looks like a minor is involved and endangering the health welfare of a minor. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. Anything you say can and will be used against you. This does appear to be your only city court case, sir. If I release you, will you promise to show up at a court date that I give you at Tucson City Court?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I will release you on your promise to appear. There are some additional conditions of release that you must abide by once you are released. You're to commit no acts of domestic violence. You are not going to be able to have any contact with the victims in this case. They do appear to be your minor children that are in DCS custody for now. Do not go to where the children are living. Do you understand those additional conditions of release?
Yes, Your Honor, where they're living, that mean my residence or just wherever they might be?
Wherever they might be. You are not to have any contact with the victims in this case.
Understood.
All right. Your next court date is going to be October 21st at 9 o'clock in the morning. That will be at Tucson City Court in front of Judge Hale. I'm sure DCS has some conditions that you're going to need to abide by. So I will say that you need to abide by any conditions that DCS imposes on you as well, since they'll be connected to this case. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, understood.
Okay. Make sure you show up for that court date. If you don't, they'll issue a warrant. All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's all for tonight, Mr. Tona.
Thank you.
Us.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
Name is Anthony Islas Davis Jr.
All right. You are here on 4 charges involving sex conduct with a minor. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing this evening. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services on this matter. I've also had an opportunity to review the state's recommendation as to conditions of release. They are recommending $100,000 in bond and that you not be allowed to have any contact with minors and released to pretrial services if you post that bond. Mr. Terrace, did you want to be heard further?
Judge, the state would just note that the recommendation, the state does understand he does not have felony prior convictions, but the recommendation is based on not only the seriousness of the conduct, but the ongoing nature of the conduct.
Ms. Baumgartner, did you want to be heard?
Yes, just a moment, Your Honor.
So on his city case, I'll do the, I don't know if it's blue. Right, but I'll release him on this one. I'm gonna do city PD unless you tell me that there's someone. Yes. Okay, so city PD felony holds, and then it'll be that court date. So do you want me to use the 10-1 date or the 9/26 date? Okay. Got it. Are you ready, Ms. Baumgartner?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Your Honor, we'd be asking for a lower bond. As the state noted, he has no priors. He's scoring a 3 on both scales. He's only 26 years old. He does have housing with his mother. The only reason it could not be confirmed is because he doesn't have any phone numbers. He doesn't have any memorized. So there's no one he can call his mom to verify, but she does not have any minors that live there, and he knows he can stay there. If you are inclined for the bond, Your Honor, he does not have employment at this point, and given his lack of criminal history and his unlikely statistically to run, we'd be asking for a $20,000 bond.
Mr. Eastless, I am going to impose a bond in the amount of $100,000 that will be cash or secured. If you do post that bond, then you would be released to the custody of pretrial services. You'll be ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. Do not possess or consume any alcohol or drugs or have any firearms. You are not to have any contact with the victim in this case. Do not go to where she may be living or going to school or working or anything else. If you remain in custody, that order still applies to you. You may have access in the jail to tablets and other communication devices. You are not to have any contact with that victim. You are also not to have any contact with any minors. Do you understand all of those conditions of release, Mr. Eastless?
Yes, I do.
Your next hearing in this matter is a preliminary hearing on September 30th at 1:30. That hearing may or may not occur, but you will be responsible for attending all future court dates. If you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. If you remain in custody, the jail will get you to those hearings, but if you do post bond and you're out, it's important you stay in contact with your attorney so that you know what those dates are. If you fail to appear, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, I do.
I also need to talk with you about a city case that you have as well. The city case looks like a warrant was issued. It stems from 2019, a criminal damage and disorderly conduct case from back then. I am going to release you on that city court case, sir, and I'm going to appoint the city public defender's office to represent you since you are still in custody. I am going to set a hearing date in Tucson City Court for October 1st at 9 a.m. That will be in front of Judge Blue. If you are still in custody, the City Public Defender's Office will talk with you about what they'll do with that hearing and whether or not you'll appear via video or how they'll handle that. But if you do get released on your felony case, it will be your responsibility to appear or a warrant can issue for your arrest. Do you understand those conditions and the consequences for failing to appear on your city court case?
Yes, I do.
That's all for tonight, Mr. Eastless.
Alexander?
Hello.
Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
King David Alexander.
Sir, you were here tonight on felony charges of possession of narcotics and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing tonight. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. When we're done talking about your felony case, sir, you do have some additional matters out of Pima County Justice Court that we're going to need to talk about as well. Mr. Alexander, pretrial services has indicated that you may be eligible to participate in a substance abuse treatment court through Pima County Superior Court. The county attorney's office can review your case, and if you are actually eligible, then you can participate in either inpatient or outpatient treatment for substance abuse. And if you complete all the terms of the program, if you're accepted, they will not go forward with these felony charges. Does that sound like something you would be interested in?
Yes.
All right. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by the state's attorney in this case as to conditions of release. It looks like they are also in agreement that you should be released to pretrial services. That is my inclination. Does either party wish to be heard further?
Nothing from the state judge.
No, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Alexander, I am going to release you to the custody of pretrial services. Your next hearing is going to be next week, September 26th at 9 a.m. That will be in front of me. I'm Judge Miller. You'll need to come to Pima County Superior Court on the 3rd floor. When you show up, you'll have an opportunity to meet with your attorney. There'll be someone from the public defender's office there. You'll also have an opportunity to meet with pretrial services and various service providers. If you get signed up for the program, then they'll be able to get you connected to all of those services if you're eligible, and you'll find out at that time. All right.
Okay.
You will need to participate in any monitoring or treatment pretrial services directs. You cannot possess or consume any alcohol or drugs, don't have any firearms while this case is going on. Ms. Baumgartner, can we waive time for the preliminary hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, sir, what I just asked your attorney is normally the state would have to do a probable cause finding within the next 20 days since you're going to be out of custody. But because we're wanting to see if you're eligible to participate in the SMART program, we're going to extend that time out to see if you are eligible and see what you can get accomplished with that program. So I'm going to set your next court date. You still have the one on the 26th in front of me. The court date after that on this case is going to be November 4th at 1:30. That is a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur. but you are responsible for showing up for all future court dates. So it's really important that you stay in contact with your attorney so you know when and if dates change. If you fail to appear, a warrant could be issued for your arrest. Do you understand all of that, Mr. Alexander?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so let's talk about your justice court cases. You have a couple of those. The first is a shoplifting warrant. I am going to release you on that matter as well. You're not to have any contact with the victims or return to the incident location. Wherever that shoplifting occurred is where the victims are. Don't go back there. Your next court date at Justice Court, which you will need to appear for, is October 7th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, that will be at Tucson or at Pima County Justice Court downtown. The next case is another matter at Pima County Justice Court. And that one I'm going to release you on as well. And you're going to get that same court date, October 7th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Justice Court.
Okay.
All right. So you do need to make sure that you show up for that court date on October 7th at 2 so they don't issue warrants for your arrest. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let me see if I can find information on that charge. It looks like it's another shoplifting charge, that new one. So both cases do involve shoplifting. So just don't go back to the places where the shoplifting occurred. All right.
Okay.
All right. That's all for tonight. And I will see you on the 26th.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, that's not yours. The one case that you don't have anything in tonight.
Oh,
Hi, tell me your full name.
Cody Burkbigler?
Mr. Burkbigler, you are here on multiple matters this evening. The first are felony charges involving possession of a narcotic drug for sale, possession of a dangerous drug for sale, prohibited possessor, possession of a firearm during a narcotics offense. You do have the right to remain silent on those charges. You do have the right to an attorney. I am going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of these proceedings. I've had an opportunity to review information prepared by pretrial services. I've also had a chance to review information provided by the state with respect to their recommendation for conditions of release. They are recommending $75,000 bond. Mr. Terrace, did you want to be heard further?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is concerned given the amount of pills in this case, the amount of drugs in general, but 980 grams of fentanyl powder, as well as almost 10,000 pills. The defendant does have prior convictions, including multiple violent priors, and scores as high as possible on the pretrial services scales. So given that, the state is requesting 75,000.
Ms. Baumgartner?
thank you, Your Honor. We're, just a moment.
input. Thank you.
Okay, and Your Honor, I'd like to point out first that the state noted he had multiple violent priors. He has one prior violent conviction. The last one was from 2020, and it's a personal possession drug case. He doesn't have an active NVCA flag. He does have housing, but he's currently unemployed, but he is a lifelong resident of Tucson, so he's not a flight risk in that sense. So given all those factors and the fact that this is also considered a nonviolent offense, we'd be asking for a $15,000 bond.
I am going to impose a $50,000 cash or secured bond in this matter. If you're able to post that bond, then you would be released to pretrial services. You're ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment that pretrial services directs. If you're released, do not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You cannot have any firearms. You also have a Tucson City Court case as well as a Justice Court case that we need to talk about. It looks like you do have release conditions set on your City Court case, so you are expected to abide by any previously set conditions if you are released. Do you understand all of your conditions of release on the felony case?
Yes, ma'am.
Your next court date is September 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That is a preliminary hearing. That date may or may not occur, but you're responsible for showing up at all future court dates. If you don't show up, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. It's important that you stay in contact with your attorney because they will know if there are changes to your court date. Do you understand the consequences for failing to appear?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about your Justice Court matter. That matter involves a driving on a suspended license, and that was a warrant that was issued out of Pima County Justice Court. I am going to impose a $100 cash or secure bond at this time. I'm going to appoint Carlos Betancourt to represent you. Your hearing is going to be tomorrow, September 20th at 1 o'clock. If you remain in custody, that will be a video review hearing, much like what you're doing today. Your conditions of release on that case are that you not drive without a valid license. Same thing applies, sir. If you fail to appear for court dates, they could issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand all of that?
Yes.
And now we need to talk about your city court cases. Looks like you have 3 of those. And some of those do involve contempt, and there's also driving on a suspended license, it looks like, as a result of a DUI. I am going to release you on the Tucson City Court cases. I'm going to appoint the City Public Defender's Office to represent you because you are in custody on other matters. I am going to give you a court date of October 15th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's going to be what they refer to as a non-transport review. If you're still in custody, your city attorney will let you know how you're going to handle that hearing. If you do get released, you will be responsible for showing up, or they'll issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
All right, that's all for tonight.
Hello.
Something there.
I was just a it's just, yeah, tell the CEO.
Hi, tell me your full name.
Alejandro Carrillo?
Mr. Carrillo, you are here today on a warrant out of Pima County Superior Court involving charges of a narcotic drug possession and drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of this hearing. I've had the opportunity to review some information provided by pretrial services. We're also going to need to talk about a justice court matter that you have pending as well. I've reviewed information provided by the state's attorney on this matter as to conditions of release. It does appear that the judge in the case where you failed to appear for the arraignment issued a $500 warrant.
Yes.
Sir, I have an address for you on East Muldren Road. Is that still a good address?
Yes, but can I tell you, it's not Muldren, it's Waldron with the W.
How do you?
It's 4335 East Waldron Road, WOLDRON, RD, Rimrock, Arizona. It's my father's place.
All right. Mr. Terrace, did you want to be heard further? I am inclined, based on information from pretrial, to release him if he'll promise to show up at his arraignment date next week.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Baumgartner, do you want to be heard?
No, Your Honor, we're asking for release.
So, Mr. Carrillo, I am going to release you to the custody of pretrial services on this matter. So you will be released tonight. Your next hearing is September 26th at 1:30. That is your arraignment. Go ahead.
Oh, you're
Right.
okay, sorry.
And you get
I was just
paperwork.
trying to write it down. I wanted to make sure.
Okay, so your attorney's going to write that date down for you. While you're on release to pretrial services, you will be required to stay in contact with them. Based on the nature of the charges, they may want you to participate in monitoring or treatment. You'll need to do that. Do not possess or consume any alcohol or drugs or have any firearms while this case is going on. Looks like I have an indication that you may be on probation. You do need to contact them the first working day of your release. So tomorrow, you need to be on the phone with your probation officer, letting them know about your contact here in Pima County. It does look like that probation matter is out of Yavapai. So make sure you contact your probation officer, and you do need to show up. It'll be the 8th floor of Pima County Superior Court on September 26th at 1:30 for your arraignment. If you fail to appear, they're going to issue another warrant for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all for tonight, Mr. Carrillo.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
Your Honor, wasn't there a justice court matter?
Oh, gosh, yes, thanks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So let's talk about that one. That's a shoplifting warrant out of justice court. I'm going to release you on your promise to appear on that case as well. You're not to return to where the shoplifting occurred. That is where. All right. So shoplifting warrant out of Pima County Justice Court. Wherever the shoplifting occurred, don't go back there. I am releasing you on that case. You will need to appear at Pima County Justice Court on October 21st at 8:30 in the morning. If you fail to appear, they'll issue a warrant for your arrest in that case as well. These matters aren't going to go away, sir, so you need to take care of them, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all for tonight.
Thank you.
Judge.
Where do I go?
Up there.
Oh, here. Please work that.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Tell me your full name.
Sean Kenneth Watson Donner.
Mr. Donner, you are here this evening on felony charges relating to unlawful possession of a dangerous drug and drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purposes of the hearing this evening. I have had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. I've also had a chance to review information regarding your conditions of release that's been provided by the state, the prosecutor in this case. They are recommending release to pretrial services. Mr. Donner, you may be eligible to participate in a substance abuse treatment court through Pima County Superior Court. If the prosecutor's office does find that you're eligible to participate and you successfully complete either inpatient or outpatient treatment for substance abuse and complete all the requirements for the program, they will not go forward with these felony charges. Does that sound like something that you're interested in?
Yes.
So I will release you to pretrial services. Mr. Terrace or Ms. Baumgartner, do you want to be heard further?
Nothing from the state.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, sir, you will be released to pretrial services tonight. You are going to need to stay in contact with them. Your next hearing is going to be September 26th, next week at 9 a.m. That's going to be in front of me. I'm Judge Miller, third floor of Pima County Superior Court. You'll have a chance to meet with your attorney at that time. You'll have a chance to meet pretrial service workers as well as providers from our community that will be working with you for any substance abuse related issues. It's important you show up at that hearing. That's when you'll find out if you're eligible to participate in this program and get connected to your services.
Yes, ma'am.
While on release to pretrial, you're not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, don't have any firearms. Are we willing to waive some time for the preliminary hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, sir, what I just asked your attorney is normally the state has 20 days to do a probable cause finding on your case. But because we want to see if you're eligible to participate in this program, we're going to extend that date out. So your preliminary hearing date is going to be November 4th at 1:30 in the afternoon. So first step, next week, the 26th at 9 a.m., you'll come to my courtroom. And then if you're eligible, your attorney will talk to you about what's going to happen. If you're not eligible, then your next court date is November 4th at 1:30. That preliminary hearing date may or may not happen. So it will be really important that you stay in contact with your attorney in case the date changes. You are responsible for all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, they can issue a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand all of that, Mr. Donner?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When you get released later tonight, they'll give you some paperwork, and Ms. Baumgartner has also written down the information for your court dates. That's all for tonight. I'll see you next week.
Mm-hmm.
Amy?
Hello.
Hi, tell me your full name.
April Haney.
Ms. Haney, you are here tonight on charges involving possession of narcotic drug for sale, possession of dangerous drug for sale, possession of a narcotic drug, and possession of a dangerous drug. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I am going to appoint the legal defender's office to represent you, and you do have counsel seated with you for purpose of this hearing this evening. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services about this matter. Ms. Haney, you also have multiple city court cases that are outstanding. I think there are 5 or 6 of those that I have here in front of me. We need to talk about those once we resolve your conditions of release as to your felony matter. I've had an opportunity to review the state's request on this case for your conditions of release. They're asking that a bond be imposed in the amount of $25,000. Mr. Terrace, do you want to be heard further?
Your Honor, just briefly, the state is concerned, given the quantity of drugs as well as the amount of different drugs. The defendant also scores 6 out of 6 on both the pretrial services.
Ms. Baumgartner?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're asking for a much lower bond, specifically because this is a nonviolent offense. I recognize the quantity involved. However, she hasn't had a felony prior since 2019. So if you give her a chance on pretrial services, she'll have that level for supervision to make sure she's coming to court and all her misdemeanors. Something that the misdemeanors don't offer her, this felony does. She does have housing. She stays with her dad. She just wasn't able to remember his phone number to get that verified. She's actually a student right now. She's getting her business administration degree, and she's going through South University online. She's assignments every week she takes care of. So given all those factors, Your Honor, we're asking you, give her a chance on pretrial services. Like I said, she'll be on a very high level of supervision. In the alternative, if you are inclined for a bond, then we're asking for a $8,000 bond.
Ms. Haney, I am going to impose a $10,000 cash or secured bond on this case. If you post that bond, then you'll be released to the custody of pretrial services. You're going to be ordered to participate in any monitoring or treatment they direct. You're not allowed to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You're not allowed to have any firearms in this case. Your next hearing is going to be a preliminary hearing. That will be on September 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That date may or may not occur, but you will be responsible for showing up at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can be issued for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences for failing to appear, Ms. Haney?
Yes.
Let's talk about your city court cases next. You have multiple city court cases involving drug paraphernalia, theft, and knowingly displaying a fictitious plate. I am going to release you on your city court cases. Your next hearing date on those are going to be October 17th at 2:30 in the afternoon. That's going to be in front of Judge Crenshaw at Tucson City Court. I don't know what's going to happen on your felony case, ma'am, so I am going to appoint counsel for you in Tucson City Court. So if you are still in custody, they'll contact you and let you know what they're going to do for that particular hearing. But if you get out of custody on your felony case, you must show up at Tucson City Court on October 17th at 2:30, or they'll issue more warrants for your arrest. These matters are not going to go away, Ms. Haney. You need to take care of them. Do you understand?
Yes.
Give me just a moment to figure out who I'm going to appoint in this matter. But we're looking through your files, ma'am, to see who you had previously at the city cases. And if that person's still around, we'll appoint that person for you. So give us just a second to review that. So ma'am, we're not seeing any public defender previously appointed for you. So I am going to appoint Janet Altschuler to represent you in the city court case. And again, she'll be able to talk with you about your city court matters, and she'll know that you're in custody on the felony case. That's all for tonight, ma'am. Oops. Oh, I stick the paper on there.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Tell me your full name. Sir, you're gonna need to speak up so I can understand you. What's your full name? All right, Mr. Narcho, you are here tonight on some felony charges. One interim complaint is aggravated domestic violence charge. The other one is aggravated assault on a peace officer. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney in this matter. I'm going to appoint the legal advocate's office to represent you. I've had the opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. I've also had a chance to review information provided by the state's attorney with respect to their recommendation on conditions of release. They are recommending a $20,000 bond on the domestic violence case and a $5,000 bond on the other matter. We also have a city court case that we're going to need to talk about as well, sir. Mr. Terrace, did you want to be heard?
Your Honor, the state's bond recommendation is based on the prior convictions of the defendant. He does have four multiple R4 domestic violence as well as their violent offenses. He also has a history of domestic violence convictions as misdemeanors and an active FVCA flat.
Ms. Baumgartner?
Just a moment, Your Honor. Your Honor, we'd be asking for a lower bond in this case. I have spoken with Mr. Narcho, and he is has a schizophrenia. So it kind of explains some of this behavior. He is a lifelong resident of Tucson. He has been homeless though for a year. Like I said, he has a pretty serious mental disability, so his financial history isn't very strong. So given all those factors, Your Honor, we'd be asking for a $10,000 bond in the DV case and then a $3,000 bond in the aggravated assault case.
So, Mr. Narcho, I am going to impose a $10,000 bond that will be cash or secured. If you post that bond, then you'll be released to pretrial services. I am going to have this be a concurrent bond for both interim cases that we're seeing tonight. So it's one bond for $10,000 as to both of these matters. Additional conditions, if you post that bond, being released to pretrial services, participating in any monitoring or treatment they direct, you'll be required to stay in contact with that agency. Do not commit any further acts of domestic violence. Do not possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs. You're not allowed to have any firearms or weapons. Do not have any contact with the victim in this case. That's your mom. You can't have contact with her whether you are in or out of custody. Do not go to where she is living and where she may be working. Your next hearing in this case for both of these interims is going to be September 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That hearing may or may not occur, so it's important that you stay in contact with your attorney because you are responsible for appearing at all future court dates. And if you fail to appear, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You stay in custody, the jail will make sure you get to those hearings. But if you bond out, sir, you do need to stay in contact with your attorney so they don't issue warrants for you. Do you understand, Mr. Narcho? Okay. Give me just a second to fill out the paperwork on this other case. All right, so talk about city court case. That case involves charges of refusing to provide a truthful name and trespassing. I am going to release you on those city court cases. I'm going to give you a future court date in city court of October 18th at 9 o'clock in the morning. That will be a hearing in front of Judge Hale. Because you are being held on the felony case, I am going to appoint the law offices of, it'll be probably Jeff Grinkowicz, who will be representing you. And it will either be Jeff or Gary Grinkowicz, sir. So it's a father, son, and they have that law firm. So one of them will be in contact with you. If you do post bond or you get out of custody, that October 18th date is the date that you do need to appear for, do a warrant for your arrest. Do you understand, Mr. Narcho? Right, that's all for tonight.
Hello,
Hi, ma'am. Tell me your full name.
Lindsay Ryan Price.
Ms. Price, you are here tonight on 2 counts of disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You do have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office to represent you, and you have counsel seated with you for purposes of this hearing. I've had an opportunity to review information provided by pretrial services. I've also reviewed the state's recommendation as to your conditions of release. They are asking for a $10,000 bond. Mr. Charis, did you want to be heard further?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Baumgartner?
Yes, Your Honor, we're actually asking that you release her to pretrial services. This is considered a nonviolent offense. She's a level 1 supervision requirement, and that's because she has no priors at 40 years old. She's a 1 on both the scales. She has housing, she's self-employed. She was not a prohibited possessor. She was allowed to have this weapon. They also didn't book her under aggravated assault charges. They booked her under disorderly conduct with the weapon charges, which, as you know, is just a class 6 felony right above a misdemeanor. So given her lack of criminal history and all those factors I just listed, we're asking you give her a chance on pretrial services. If you are inclined for a bond, then I don't believe anything more than a $3,000 bond is necessary.
Ms. Price, I have an address for you on North Desert Trail Road. Is that still a good address for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ma'am, I am going to release you to the custody of pretrial services with the condition that you are not allowed to possess any firearms. You are going to need to surrender any firearms that you currently own to the Morana Police Department. That is going to be on your order for your conditions of release. You are not to have any contact with the victims in this case to the extent that you know who they are. Do not go anywhere near them. Do you understand all of those conditions of your release?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, your next court date is going to be October 9th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a preliminary hearing. That court date may or may not occur, but you will be responsible for all future court dates. It's important that you stay in contact with your attorney because if there are changes, they will know to tell you about those changes. If you fail to appear for any future court date, a warrant could issue for your arrest. Do you understand the consequences for failing to appear, Ms. Price?
Yes, Your Honor.
When you get released later today, they will have a copy of your conditions of release that will have the information we discussed on it. All right, that's all for tonight.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, everyone, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much. Mr. Terrace, thank you. Jail, thank you. Ms.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Baumgartner, thank you. Have a good night. 8:30, not bad.